Hi, everybody. This is Jimmy DeYoung with Prophecy Today video. I have a daily devotion that we make available to all of those who would be interested in reading it, or in fact, if you would like to receive it, we will send it in an email to you on a daily basis. And on Saturday, the 20th of February, we discussed Numbers chapters 11 through 13 in my devotional. I gave some insight, but then I had an opportunity to have a conversation with David Wilder, who is the spokesperson for the Jewish community in Hebron, the oldest Jewish community in the history of the world, dating back 4,000 years ago to the time of Abraham when he came into the land that God had promised the Jewish people. But it also dates back to Joshua and Caleb, the two spies that came into the land, reported back to Moses, hey, this is a land of milk and honey, we can go in there. It's the location, of course, where Caleb was able to receive a piece of real estate near where the grapes of Eshcol grow. A beautiful, beautiful part of the state of Israel. We did discuss the passage dealing with the two spies there in chapter 13 of Numbers with David Wilder, but I asked David about the Sanhedrin as well. In chapter 11 and verse 16, God tells Moses to select 70 wise men. They were to be elders of the children of Israel. He would put a special spirit upon them, giving them power to prophesy, but they would come alongside Moses and help him in decision-making as the children of Israel wandered through the wilderness. I asked David if that passage of Scripture, the 11th chapter of the book of Numbers, verse 16, was referring to the origins of the Sanhedrin.
Yeah, I believe so. The Sanhedrin was one of the most important organizations that existed during not only talk about Herod's time, we talk about the Second Temple, but also during First Temple times. And of course, this originated back in the days of Moshe, of Moses in the desert, where you had you formed basically you have it's a judicial organization. Which is used to make very, very important decisions concerning Jewish law, and dealing with the king, dealing with the priests in the temple, and the requirements to be on the Sanhedrin were very, very strict. You had to know a number of languages and be familiar, of course, with all of Jewish law and all of Jewish tradition and other traditions, so that they could deal with just about any problem that arose.
Basically, they were the Supreme Court for the Jewish people, weren't they?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. You had several different court systems. You had a court system whereby you could have 1 or 3 judges dealing with individual cases. You had a court system of 23, and you had a court system of 70. And as cases dealt with more serious problems, the number of judges had to increase in order to have, in other words, if there was what would today be called a capital case in which a person could be, God forbid, could be eligible for a death penalty, that had to be heard by a court of 23, not in a court of 1 or a court of 3 people, 3 judges. And the tractate that we're studying now, which just began last week, is that of Sanhedrin, the tractate that deals with all of the laws concerning the Supreme Court, as you would call it, and you're correct. People have tried to bring this back into existence.
Let me ask you one final question before we have to go here. We were talking about the Sanhedrin earlier. They have been reformed, David. They're going to play a key role in the preparation leading up to and then the building and operation of the next temple in Israel, are they not?
Well, in theory, yes. In practice, that's yet to be seen. It's very difficult to try to renew old practices that have not been in operation for 2,000 years. And of course, there are many discussions and disagreements about who may or may not be on such an important organization and what the qualifications necessary are. And I think it's very important that this initiative is taking place, and we have people that are extremely, extremely brilliant who are sitting on this body. And I hope that they're able to continue and win the acceptance of other people, so that they will be recognized as this kind of a group. And things take a little bit of time, but with God's help, we'll see the continued spiritual reestablishment of Israel.
David Wilder on the Sanhedrin and them coming into existence way back some 3,500 years ago, as recorded in Numbers chapter 11 and verse 16. But today, the Sanhedrin are in place. Let me talk about that just for a few moments. Numbers chapter 11, verse 16 does talk about, in the past, the 70 wise Jewish scholars who would become the supreme court of the Jewish people would come into existence. At the time of Herod's temple, the time of Jesus Christ, the Sanhedrin were playing a key role. Remember what David said. They assisted in accomplishing the activities or managing what took place at the temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Just recently, and we referred to this with David Wilder as well, the 70 wise men have come back into existence. They were reformed on the shores of the Sea of Galilee in Tiberias, where they mysteriously disappeared some 1,400 years ago. These men are involved now in becoming a part of the judicial system of Israel. The Supreme Court of Israel, the judicial leaders of Israel, have recognized these 70 wise Jewish scholars, the Sanhedrin, as a part of the judicial system. In fact, they even issued a declaration to the United Nations to quit messing with the Jewish state of Israel in some of the resolutions the United Nations were passing. And this resolution said, if you mess with God, you're going to have to pay in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, quoting a passage in Joel chapter 3. The Sanhedrin are in place. They are going to play a key role in preparations to erecting the temple on the Temple Mount in the city of Jerusalem. They have already petitioned the High Court to be able to restore the sacrificial system on the Temple Mount. They have said they want to put the temple up as soon as possible. They are in conversation discussing who will be the next high priest. In fact, I believe they have already named the high priest that will operate that temple, standing there during the tribulation period, the time of Jacob's trouble. What does that say to us? It says that indeed the coming of the Messiah is close at hand. When Christians leave this place, when he shouts to call us up to be with him, and then all of the prophecies that we're talking about the building of a temple on the Temple Mount, and that can be talked about from the passages of Scripture that deal with it, Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, Matthew 24:15, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, and Revelation chapter 12 and verse 1. All these passages indicating there will be a temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. The Sanhedrin has to play a key role. They have been reformed. They're in operation in the Jerusalem area now. The stage is set. All the actors are in place. The curtain about to go up on what is going to happen in the near future. But remember, as I said, the rapture takes place first, and then these prophecies are fulfilled. In fact, the rapture could happen today. Having said that, nothing left for me to say, except let's keep looking up until